Hi everyone, it's Neville again for Filipino Connections. This was actually my first video, but I had a chance to do a couple over Christmas, which is great. Initially, I wondered how I was going to start the vlogs, and after pondering about it, I thought to myself, there's no better way to do this than to start with myself. So this is my first official vlog called My Connections, Zambia. In the 1970s, my dad had an opportunity to work in Africa, specifically in Zambia. Now, to give you a quick background about Zambia, Zambia is a landlocked country located in South Central Africa. When we say landlocked, Zambia was surrounded by other African countries and we were far away from the coastal areas. Zambia's population is approximately 19 million people, and Zambia's economy back then was heavily dependent on mining, particularly mining for copper. And that's where the company that employed my dad was located. In this video, we will be joined by a long-life dear friend of mine, Amado Garcia, who has kindly agreed to be interviewed so that we can both share our experiences whilst we were there. The family then settled in a city called Kitwe. Now, Kitwe is located about 6.5 or 7-hour drive from Lusaka, the capital city, and it's where my dad's office was. He was a draftsman for a mining company, ZCCM, and my mom was a manager for a restaurant, whilst my sister and I eventually went to school there. It was there when my fondest memories started. Now, I don't really recall anything prior to coming to Zambia. I didn't recall about the Philippines. I had very little memories about that. All I knew was I was already in Zambia, going to school, having classmates from different countries, going to school with my sister, and having to meet other kids from the Philippines. And that's where I met Amado Garcia.
Amado Garcia Jr. But for those guys that I grew up with when I was living in Zambia, Dodong.
Yeah.
We moved to Zambia in 1978, and I was about 6 years old. Yeah, I always share this with people that I talk to from Zambia and outside of Zambia about my experience when I first got to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a funny story because you finally land. I think this was in Lusaka, and you're a 6-year-old, you're a precocious little kid. You get off the plane, you run towards where you're supposed to be going, and I mean it was a complete shock. I mean, 6 years of my life living in Baguio and mostly seeing people of the same color as myself and a few white people
Mm-hmm.
who were in Baguio. And I was running towards the terminal building, and then I see all these people with different color than my own skin.
Uh-huh.
So as a 6-year-old, I mean, this is shocking. That was the initial feeling for me, the shock factor that, oh, they're so different from me. But that was it. I mean, that was the initial shock, and then after that, I mean, how many years later, and Zambia, Africa has become a major part of my life. So, but I think that was the great shock of my life. But then it also became the biggest blessing, I think, in my life and to many of us who lived in Africa.
So when you reached Africa, and Zambia particularly, which part of Zambia did you go to?
Well, when we first got there in '78, we lived in Kitwe, which is the same town where you were from or where you lived, because we got together with your dad
Mm-hmm.
and your mom often.
Yeah.
And I remember both our dads getting a little tipsy. Yeah. Quite often. I even remember your dad's car. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was a yellow Ford.
Wow,
If I-
what a memory! Yes, it was, and it was
Exactly.
Ford
It was a
Escort.
yellow Ford Escort.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I know your dad liked to drive fast. And
Well,
that's from a 6, 7, 8 year old. And I remember all of that very vividly. I remember the times that your dad and my dad got together and drank, their whatever, their chibuku, their mosi. So we lived anyway. Going back, no, we lived in Kitwe first,
yeah,
and then a few years after that. But this was when we already were living. You know how most of us we studied there for elementary, and then when we got to high school,
yeah,
some of us lived in. I went back home to the Philippines. Some
yeah,
of some of our Filipino friends went to the U.S.
mhm,
to England.
yeah,
So when I came back to Africa during summers and then Christmas break, we moved to Chilabombwe,
yeah.
which is up north near the border of Zaire, or now Republic of Congo, right?
Right, that's
And
right.
then after a few more years of living in Chilabombwe, we went back to Kitwe, and that's where we ended our stay in Africa. Leaving Kitwe for the last time in 1994.
Right. So, I'm pretty amazed how much you remember that because I don't remember much, to be honest.
Well, you were much younger, and I think you left much earlier, right?
Yeah,
I
we
can't
did.
remember the year that you left, but you know, I, I'm surprised that even at such a young age, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, there was a lot of things that I still remember very vividly.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because the memories were so good,
yeah.
and that's why it really implanted in my mind, in my memory bank. So only good times, only good times.
Uh, for me, I started out just having memories. Right now, I'm just having memories of the anthill in Kitara Trust School.
Yes.
Yeah, Kitara Trust School, for the viewers, is the school that we went to. It's an international school
Yeah.
in Zambia before. And it was, of course, for students and young people who were who were or had parents working as ACCM, Zambia Copper Mine.
Yeah. Yes.
And it didn't feel different. For me, it didn't feel different. The fact that there were like other nationalities. It was just for me, it's just suddenly the norm because I kind of just I was aware. I was just
Mhm.
aware when I was there, if you know what I mean. I didn't have like a memory of the Philippines because I was so
Yeah.
young. Yeah, I didn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went, when we got to Africa, we got to Zambia, Kitwe, um, I started going to school. It was like, oh, okay, this is the norm.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
yeah. So diversity in itself was already
Yeah.
implemented
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
think I think that's what a lot of us, the children of Filipino FilZams,
yeah,
the children who grew up there. I think that's the one thing or the one blessing that it gave us is that we became more aware about the cultures of different people. I mean, you can't get any more different than Asia and Africa. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So for us to grow in an environment where there were Africans or Zambians specifically, there were Indians, there were British. I think that was a that had a very positive impact on many of us
hmm,
because it helped us to understand different cultures. And I think if it was not for that experience of having lived in Africa, especially at such a young age, I don't think I'd be as culturally adaptable to other races when it comes to me being an adult now
hmm,
at 50. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. No, I
Yeah. So
understand.
I'm very grateful for that experience in Zambia.
When you went back to the Philippines, how
Yeah.
was that for you?
You know, because I was so young that Zambia was actually my home. You know what I'm saying? So when I did go to the Philippines, whether it was for the first time for a vacation or for the first time, going to study there as a grade 7 student, I was even more shocked going to the Philippines than when I first went from the Philippines to Zambia.
I
That's the
agree.
whole thing,
I agree.
right?
I become an outsider in my own country.
Exactly, exactly,
You know,
exactly,
it was more difficult for me coming back to the Philippines rather than
exactly.
being in
Yeah,
Zambia. And I felt that Zambia was my first home. You know,
exactly. I mean, we all spoke English, but we spoke it with a different accent. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Okay, do you still remember? Do you still remember? No, no.
Of course, of course. And we grew up uh, with the British kind of English.
Yeah, yeah,
So when I went back to the Philippines, and when we say tomato
yeah,
and they say tomato, or when we say potato, and when they were making fun of me, and so that was the shocking thing for me, because I was back in my home country, but then I was the one feeling left out. I can't really recall, but I'm sure, whether it was on purpose or not, there were times that when we spoke, it was with the Zambian accent or twang.
yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
think we probably didn't. I think as kids we probably did.
I think we did.
Like when we were playing outside. When we go to different homes for the parties. I think we did speak with the Zambian twang.
I love the accent.
No,
Yeah,
no, and when we do it, it's not to insult
yeah,
or to make fun. It's because we actually lived and spoke that way.
yeah, and it's innate.
That was our part of our being Zambian or FilZam, right? I'll share a story. There was a few years back. I was at a hotel, and I was having a breakfast with some of my managers, my sales managers, and there was a whole contingent of delegates from Africa,
Yeah.
right? And of course, naturally, just the fact that they were all from Africa, it got me excited. And I even had to ask people, oh, I lived in I lived in Africa, and I lived in Zambia specifically. And this group, they were not from Zambia, but they said, oh, the other bus that's coming, they have a delegate from Zambia. So when they actually arrived, I actually went up to them, introduced myself, had pictures with them, because I felt like I was part of them,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I had to bust out the accent,
Nice.
and they all enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's amazing how I get excited the same way.
Yeah,
Every African I meet here in the UK, I always
exactly.
ask,
Yeah.
"Where you originally
What part?
from?" Yeah,
Exactly.
and
That's weird, right?
yeah,
That's weird.
and it's like I crave to meet a Zambian.
Someone from Zam. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there are times when you're in the grocery. I guess just like you. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, I was at the grocery. The father and son that were beside me at the checkout counter. You know, I was so tempted to ask, because I was listening to their accent, and it sounded like they were from Africa.
yeah,
And I just had to ask, where from Africa are you from? And I was hoping they were from Zambia, but they were not. But
yeah.
still, the fact that they were from Africa, it always brings memories of our stay.
How about food?
Food, okay, food. Because our food growing up as kids, it was really very British. I mean, with all the meats.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. I mean, that's where we learned how to eat pork chop.
yeah,
All the T-bone
yeah,
steaks.
yeah.
That's how, even to this day, our dietary meals are always have meat,
Yeah.
and it's because of our upbringing in Zambia.
What I remember when I was in Zambia also, I remember eating in Shima.
In Shima, yeah, mili meal,
Oh my God,
right?
that was a textural experience because
Yeah.
when we're used to rice, and then I tried it, and
Oh yeah.
I winced. So it's like, whoa, and they were laughing at me but they, it's like a Filipino trying to make another person from another country eat balot.
Yeah, exactly,
And
exactly.
you get excited to see how the reaction is. And when I winced, because it was so different,
Different, yeah.
they started laughing, but they appreciated the fact that you tried it. And
Yeah, and of course, I let me guess, your first experience of eating mealy meal or enshima was with the our house help. Normally, it's our house help, right? I
Definitely.
mean,
Yeah.
you go to their kaya,
Yeah. Yeah.
what we used to call their kaya, right? And they're preparing their meals, and then you just sit down with them, and they ask you to try their food, and you do, and that's part of, I guess, the experience of growing up in a country other than your own.
And it become, the household became more family than anything else.
Oh yeah, definitely,
They
for
were
sure, for
actually
sure.
they were actually our immediate contact with the community. So yeah, that was an experience, wasn't it? It was
Oh yeah.
more of
I mean, just talking to you now about Africa, it just gets me excited. I mean,
yeah,
that's how it is. Zambia really has a very big part of who we are
yeah.
as individuals today. Yeah.
And then when talking to you or talking to anyone from our childhood, I
Mhm.
feel that we become children again. You know,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. We're there, having that conversation, running around, and
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
But it is that we go back to our childhood. We're just children in bigger bodies, if you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, just remind me. Literally bigger bodies. Yeah,
Oh,
and older bodies. And older bodies.
yeah, you got the wrinkles now and all that, all coming out. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's fine. I mean, just to reminisce about Zambia, it just brings so many good memories. There's really nothing bad that I can think of about my childhood in Zambia.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, same here, same here.
Everything was positive. Everything, everything. Anytime, anytime you get to meet someone from your past, especially Zambia, it's just automatic. I mean, you have this bond that just you just know. You
You
just
know,
know.
it just changes everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that just feeling of feeling
It's
of
just, it's just like turning on a switch. You know what I'm saying? Like you just turn on a light switch and it's just automatic. You just get taken back to our time in Zambia.
yeah,
Right?
and
That's the feeling. That's the feeling.
it's so amazing how we do that as people. And I think
Exactly.
that's one of the things uh, that makes us really unique. Is the fact that
Yeah.
we have these memories of
Yeah.
living in the past,
Mhm.
and then we establish links and friendships. And as I always say, the real friends, I think, is the fact that uh, even if you don't see each other, even if you don't
Exactly.
for years,
True. True.
you just pick up where you left off, and then
Yeah. I it's not measured by the number of years that you've been together as friends, or it's not any of that. It's that connection that you were able to form even many years ago as kids. And even if we're now old madalas,
yeah,
that friendship remains, and that's where the true friendships are made. And I'm sure whether we're at our age now, I'm now 50, or whether we're 55 or 60, and whenever we do get to reconnect, whether like this virtually or in person, we're gonna go back to our youth automatically. Exactly. Yeah, nako, it's so nice to just catch up. I mean, we talk about us as our youths, but we talk about Uncle Orly, Auntie Mila, my dad, and
Kelvin,
all I think what Zambia gave to us. It gave us an extended family. We may not be related by blood,
yeah,
but the cult, the Filipino, 'di ba, yung very family oriented.
mhm.
So your parents automatically became uncle, auntie.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I know that your mom and dad, they're ninong. They called ninong.
yeah,
Ninang is
yeah,
my dad and
yeah,
my mom, right? So,
yeah.
and even all the other Filipino, whether they were from Visayas or Mindanao or Luzon, whatever, they were just uncle and auntie, right? you you're the because you're younger than us, right? So
Yeah.
I was my age, was si Shayna, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, you were the little annoying fucking brother that just was running around,
Okay, calm down.
snot on his freaking nose.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
I'm gonna be very, very graphic now in my recollection of my memory.
Nice.
I remember you that way.
Yeah.
You used to cry a lot. I remember you didn't have the good set of teeth that you have right now.
Yeah. Even these teeth are not mine.
No,
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised when you mentioned that you were doing this, but because you've started it, I wish you all the best with this because I think it will do a lot for many of us. The connections that we were able to make,
Mhm.
and that the connections that we'll be able to get back to after so many years. I think it's a good thing what you're doing, and I really wish you all the best with this. And I hope that it brings more of us together. And for all you know, because of this, it might be the path to that reunion that you were just talking about earlier, right? So
And one thing
continue and
more.
make it happen.
Yeah, and one thing more. It would be great. I'm also thinking about it now. If I had the chance to go back to Zambia.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Me
Yeah,
too.
exactly, exactly.
And
That's
and
the
and
thing.
and that is the bucket list that I've told my wife and my son. If we're blessed that we can go back to Africa, and then for me to take you to where I grew up, I'd want to be able to do that. To all the other people that might be seeing this later on, whether you grew up, in Zambia when we were there in the late 70s, early 80s, or if you came later on, Mulishani to all of you. And Lon, Neville, I wish you all the best with this. I hope that it brings back many good memories for many of our other childhood friends. Na whether we were together a year, 5 years, 10 years, they have the same nostalgic feeling that I'm having right now, just having this conversation with you.
Equally, brother. And again, I want to thank you for this. It means so much. It means so much to me, and I think it will mean a lot for a lot of
Oh
people.
yes, yes, it means a lot to me also. So again, kick some ass with this.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I know this may be 40 years overdue, but I'd like to thank the people from Zambia. Bamayo, Banoko, Ninefwe. I hope I said that right. Mama Zambia, I appreciate you. And I will always cherish you in my heart. And I will always stand and sing of Zambia, proud and free. I'd also like to thank the people who made it possible for the family to get to Zambia, to experience such a beautiful country and the beautiful people in it. And to Amado, Otate Lamuninyani, thank you, brother. Really appreciate this. So, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe, follow, and definitely share. Once again, I'm Neville, and this has been Filipino Connections. Thank you very much.